Good morning from the Water Utilization Learning Center. My name is Brian Olson. I'm out here with Mark Ryman, and we're standing in a very similar spot to what we were at about 5-6 weeks ago when we were talking about corn and how we were concerned about it progressing through the growing season. And actually, September, we had some really good weather to help finish the corn out. When we look at the growing degrees that were accumulated in September, we ended up with about 100 more than what we typically would. And so again, it turned out to be a little bit better September than we anticipated. And so if the corn got in the ground on time, we're in good shape. But if the corn got delayed by 2 to 3 weeks, we still got some corn that needs to finish. And so we're out here talking to Mark Ryman about what we potentially are going to see here with this frost that's going to come in here in the next couple days.
So yeah, we've got a few things just looking at. I've seen, the USDA is reporting that only 76% of the Nebraska corn crop is actually mature. So if we get a hard frost on that before you have black layer or physiological maturity, you may be looking at some level of yield loss out there. Now, how much yield loss that's going to be can depend on a lot of factors, but mainly it depends on how mature your crop is and what its growth stage is. So we've got a few things here. We've got a 116-day corn product that we actually planted on time or pretty early, April 25th, and then we've got one right here that's much greener, planted the 3rd of June. So you've got like a 5-week window of planting that we're looking at. If you grab an ear out of the that earliest planting date, and we did that, you'll see that obviously if you dig down in there, the kernels are very hard. You've got the black layer, and this kernel's mature, so you're not going to see any yield loss in this. We do still have a lot of healthy green leaf material, healthy green stalks out there, so that will frost and it'll change color on you very quickly. There is a little concern. I don't think we're going to get that cold, but an extreme freeze might cause some standability issues out there on corn. The greener the corn is, the more those issues can be. And then from the corn planted June 3rd, we're actually getting pretty close to black layer. We're at about 2/3 milk line, so we're past that half milk line stage, and we're maybe starting to form a black layer in some of the kernels, but we're not quite there.
So if the frost comes in as anticipated here on Thursday or Friday, what kind of yield loss would we expect potentially? What kind of range would farmers expect to lose in yield if corn was at this stage?
So at this stage, if it's a light frost, you're maybe only expecting a few percent loss just because those leaves stop feeding the plant. But a really hard freeze, you might be looking at 4 to 5% yield loss out of this. And I am expecting a hard freeze to completely kill the leaves and the stalk tissue in it.
Yep, so if farmers look at the information online, they'll find that you've got the difference between a hard freeze and a light freeze. As Mark was pointing out, if it's a hard freeze down in that 25 to 27 degree temperature, it's going to completely kill all that whole plant, and therefore it's going to stop all grain fill. If it's a light freeze, if you get into that 29 degree temperature, you still could have a little bit of filling going on, and therefore if you're by chance your corn isn't completely at black layer, you may not see quite as much loss because it continued to fill. So what else do we have here, Mark?
So then we've got one that's extremely late to show an example of what I consider a pretty high yield loss. If you look at the estimates, a lot of them come out of areas where they freeze pretty early, so like Wisconsin or places where they have issues with it. If your corn's just at dent stage, early dent, you could be looking at a 40% yield loss from a freeze. This corn here is at about 1/3 milk line, so a killing freeze is probably going to give us in the range of 15 to 20% yield loss. Kind of the rule of thumb is at half milk line, you're losing 12% of your yield. So, this one, it's going to cost us quite a bit. This was corn planted June 24th, so extremely late. The plants look very healthy right now, but obviously we're going to get a killing frost tomorrow night.
Yep, so again, just some good, really good information to take into account. And it's good to go out there and realize that if you're not getting quite the yield that you anticipated off a corn product, when did you get it in the ground? Did it actually reach black layer before that freeze came in? Because again, you can see a lot of your top end yield disappear if it didn't get to black layer before that freeze. Any final thoughts, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, I think to me the freeze seems early this year, but we are only a few days ahead. Our normal's October 12th. We're going to have one October 10th or 11th. So we're not that far off of average, and we just have some late planted crops out there that are a little bit vulnerable. So we wanted to bring that up to you.
All right. Well, with that, we'll talk to you in the future about other agronomic topics.
Thanks for watching this video from the Gothenburg Water Utilization Learning Center. For more information, please call 308-537-4500.